Good afternoon and welcome to Biztech Asian Midday Marketwatch. Our guest today is Jeffrey Halley, Senior Market Analyst, Asia Pacific at Awanda. Jeff, it's always great to have you on the show.
Yes, great to be here, mate. And sorry the internet crashed about 30 seconds before the show started.
That's fine. So you live in Jakarta, these things happen, right?
Absolutely, they do,
now,
with monotonous regularity. Yeah.
But before we get your insights, let's take a look first at how crypto markets are performing, and then we'll take a look at how regional markets are performing. Now, in crypto markets, we've got Bitcoin, which is at 56,941. It's up 0.86%. The Ethereum is at 3,494.37. It's down 0.69%. Now, looking across regional markets, we've got the Nikkei, which is at negative 1.03% at 28,206.04. Shanghai Composite is down also 1.04% at 3,554.38. The Hang Seng is down 1.02% at 25,066.05. ASX 200 is down 0.34% at 7,275.3. The Kospi is down 1.4% at 2,914.05. SGX is down 0.58% at 3,095.53. But bucking the trend is Bursa Malaysia, which is up 0.51% at 1,578.76. Jeff, what's your take on the regional market performance in the first half of the day?
Yeah, can you hear me? Because I think we're starting to have a few more internet issues, and I do apologise for that. But we've seen a mixed performance in Asia. So Northern Asia has followed New York directly lower. We've got those inflation fears that sent US markets down overnight. And they're making themselves felt in China, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea. ASEAN's slightly different because we had a whole lot of positive news coming out of ASEAN yesterday, most particularly on the reopening of tourism into the end of the year. Now that's lifted Thailand, and it's also supporting Indonesian and Malaysian markets, which are also getting quite a big tailwind now from rising energy prices and rising commodity prices. So we're seeing a bit of a game of two halves. Now, how long that feel-good rally will last in ASEAN, I'm a little skeptical. This could be a one hit or a one-day wonder.
But okay, speaking of energy, so Malaysia and Indonesia have had a tailwind, but there are headwinds across other markets. Now, the energy crunch is not only in China, but in India. So apparently, as of October 6, 80% of China's 135 coal-powered plants had less than 8 days of supply left. Now, that's going to have a huge impact on India's economic recovery because that's been largely driven by industrial activity. What's your take on this global energy crunch and its impact on the global recovery?
Well, it could be potentially quite material. Natural gas, for example, is used to make fertilizers, which if we haven't got any fertilizers, we can't fertilize the ground. It could impact food production. As you said, heavy industrial uses, steel production, refined metals. This goes right through potentially through the whole value chain. Sure, if energy prices go up, these primary industries can adjust their pricing. But if they adjust their pricing up, by default, that's going to flow through the rest of the value chain, and that will lead to higher prices in everything around the world, and that could potentially depress growth. I still believe that the global recovery is on track, but I don't think it's going to be this wonderful, huge K-shaped recovery that we were pricing in earlier in the year. A lot of variables around. Countries such as India, which are very dependent on imported energy and actually have a weak currency at the moment, are actually, I think, particularly vulnerable, as is China and also Europe and the United Kingdom.
Now, currency-wise, Asian currencies, as you pointed out, are under pressure with the yen overnight. Which of the markets do you think are most vulnerable?
I actually do believe it's the Indian rupee out of all of them because A, it's a net energy importer. It has a weak current account. its central bank is running stagflationary policy, monetary policy, i.e. they're keeping policy rates below the level of inflation to support growth. All of those combinations, and we can see the currency has weakened quite a lot over the last few days alone, lead me to believe that it is probably the most vulnerable in Asia. China appears to be keeping a strong dollar CNY or a strong CNY fixing, probably with one eye on their imported energy bill. Other countries such as Japan, we can see that effect to a certain extent in the yen, although I do believe US yield differentials are also playing their part in Asia. It's going to be challenged by the Fed taper this quarter.
Now, Jeff, speaking of the Fed taper, has the market fully priced this in? And is this going to have a negative effect on equities?
Potentially. Now, I don't think the market has priced it in. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get a sort of Fed taper tantrum as we did about 5 or 6 years ago. This could be more of a slow burning thing. But I don't think the market's priced in the reality that the Fed will be capping the honeypot, so to speak, into 2022, and they will no longer be backstopping markets by flooding them with liquidity. Rates will still be near zero, but they won't be there as they were. And I believe that divergence in monetary policy between the US Federal Reserve and basically all of Asia, because only South Korea is in a hiking mode at the moment, and even that's quite modest. The rest of Asia is still ultra easy on their monetary policy, and I can't see any other outcome. Either central banks spend their foreign country reserves to defend their currencies, or we are going to see weaker currencies in Asia in Q4 and into 2022.
Now, Jeff, looking ahead for the rest of the week, we've got earnings season starting in the US. What are you looking for potentially from Q4 earnings and also looking ahead?
Sorry, Brian, I think the earnings season ahead, I think, has quite a lot of risk around it now. I think Q3 earnings.
We are losing you, Jeff. I think you're sporadic in and out. I think we've lost Jeff. So we've been speaking to Jeffrey Halley, Senior Market Analyst, Asia Pacific at Owanda. On Biztech Asian Midday Marketwatch, I'm Brian Fernandez. This video and podcast will be on our various social media platforms, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please subscribe and like our various social media platforms. Thank you very much for tuning in.